The U.S. Senate race was the main event at Saturday's Fancy Farm Picnic. Joe Jackson was there.
Allison Lundergan Grimes and Mitch McConnell traded jabs in front of a record crowd at the picnic, which marks the official start of Kentucky's campaign season. Grimes spoke first and blasted McConnell for what she called forgetting about Kentucky.
If Mitch McConnell were a TV show, he'd be Mad Men, treating women unfairly, stuck in 1968 and ending this season. Seriously, I don't know what's more dysfunctional, Senator, the way you run your campaign or your Washington, D.C. After 3 decades in Washington, you've just given up. You don't care about us anymore. Thanks to you, D.C. stands for doesn't care.
Meanwhile, McConnell hammered the message that a vote for Grimes is a vote for President Barack Obama.
By any standard, Barack Obama has been a disaster for our country. That's what you get for electing someone with no experience. He was only 2 years into his first job when he started campaigning for the next one. Sound familiar? His campaign raised millions from extreme liberals. Sound familiar? I mean, he really didn't have any qualifications at all. Sound familiar? And every time he got in trouble and his inexperience became obvious, he called in Bill Clinton. Sound familiar?
McConnell is locked in one of the closest Senate races in the country. The latest Bluegrass poll has McConnell, the U.S. Senate Minority Leader, leading Grimes, Kentucky Secretary of State, by 2 percentage points, 47% to 45%. I'm Joe Jackson.
Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner James Comer has announced his candidacy for governor in 2015. Joe Jackson reports.
Comer's announcement came Saturday at the Fancy Farm Picnic in Graves County. The former state lawmaker used the stage at Kentucky's premier political event to say he wants to lead the state after running the ag department.
It's been my dream come true to be your Commissioner of Agriculture, and I view the people of Western Kentucky as our family. So TJ and I have chosen this time and this place to say to all of you, I will be a candidate for governor in 2015.
Comer joins former Louisville Councilman Hal Heiner as candidates in the GOP gubernatorial field that could grow ahead of the wide-open race to succeed Democratic Governor Steve Beshear. Comer told the crowd that Kentucky can do better.
We just need a governor who is humble enough to listen, tough enough to lead, and strong enough to achieve.
Comer says his campaign will have a formal kickoff September 9th in his hometown of Tompkinsville in southern Kentucky. He plans to introduce his running mate then. I'm Joe Jackson.
U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell made an appearance in Paducah Thursday afternoon and spoke about coal, clout, and what he says is a need for change of leadership in Washington. Tim Brockwell reports.
The incumbent Senate Minority Leader spoke to a crowd of supporters at Midwest Aviation near Barkley Regional Airport. He talked about what he says is a war on coal in Washington, noting that he and Senator Rand Paul's repeated efforts to bring coal amendments to a vote in the Senate have been blocked by Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid.
Senator Paul and I have been trying to get votes on coal amendments for years. And the current majority leader, who famously said, coal makes you sick, end quote, doesn't even allow us to vote because I guess he's afraid something might actually pass.
McConnell's challenger, Democrat Allison Lundergan Grimes, has also gone on record denouncing what she calls the president's attack on Kentucky's coal industry, saying in a statement that the Obama administration's policies have threatened thousands of jobs in the Commonwealth. I'm Tim Brockwell.
Former President Bill Clinton was in Paducah Tuesday evening to stump for Democratic Senate candidate Allison Lundergan Grimes. Tim Brockwell reports.
The former president spoke to a crowd in the McCracken County High School gymnasium about why he says Kentuckians should elect Grimes to the U.S. Senate. Clinton spoke about the recent deluge of negative ads that have been circulating throughout the state about Grimes, saying he admires her unwavering attitude in the face of huge spending by the McConnell campaign.
There are some who, had they been in Allison's position and somebody dropped $50 million in negative ads on them, would have broken. And instead, the more they hit her, the better she got. The more they hit her, the stronger she got.
Clinton said the recent attacks on Grimes regarding her unwillingness to reveal who she voted for in the last election are designed to divert voters' attention from the real issues. I'm Tim Brockwell. The contest between Jeff Hines and Bob Leeper for County Judge Executive took center stage at the Clemens Fine Arts Center of WKCTC last night. Bill Hughes was there.
Hines and Leeper answered questions from members of the media on a variety of subjects, including one that's been a hot topic lately, Paducah Power System. Even though the Judge Executive's office has no say on the matter, both men were asked their opinion on the utility's best way forward and if bankruptcy should be considered. Leeper said he thinks it's very important that the folks involved keep all options on the table, and whoever is elected will have to do whatever they can to help.
Support them in any way we can with information, listen to our constituents, forward that information on to them, and make sure that as a community we rally around that issue, because not all of those folks that are affected by this are just city residents.
Hines said he'd have to see the books, but recalled that Big Rivers Energy has gone through bankruptcy twice. He said bankruptcy is misunderstood by some people, and it wouldn't necessarily ruin the community, as some have feared.
Sometimes your credit's just too good, and apparently ours is real good because we can borrow $36 million against $3 million. I can tell you as a lawyer, I would look at the details, and if it looked like the best option, that's what I'd recommend they do.
I'm Bill Hughes.
One day before the election, Democratic Senate candidate Allison Lundergan Grimes was in Paducah Monday morning. Bill Hughes was there.
McCracken County, are you ready to make history? Yeah! With this standing room only crowd, I know you had to wait for us to get here, but trust me, good things are worth waiting for, and we've waited long enough to get rid of Mitch McConnell.
Grimes arrived about 90 minutes later than expected after stops in Pikeville, Somerset, and Bowling Green. She spoke to a crowd of at least 250 people at the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local 184 and refuted Senator Mitch McConnell's claims that his 30 years in Washington is helping Kentuckians.
You and I both know seniority might be worth something if Mitch McConnell weren't up for sale to the highest bidder.
Grimes said McConnell's spending during the last 2 weeks is a sign that he's afraid. She said that's because he's out of ideas, out of touch, and come later today, he will be out of time. I'm Bill Hughes. Officials in Kentucky say turnout has been steady and problems few as voters cast ballots for U.S. Senate and other races around the state. Joe Jackson reports.
Secretary of State spokeswoman Lynn Zellen says there were a few reported problems early on today involving voting machines and changed polling places, but those were resolved quickly. Turnout has been projected to be about 49% statewide. The Kentucky Attorney General's office reported 52 calls by mid-morning, most of which involved procedural questions or issues with residency. Spokeswoman Allison Martin said a handful of calls came in with complaints about alleged vote buying or electioneering. County clerks reported small problems, including a voting machine in Paducah that jammed and a brief power outage in the Fancy Farm area. Both issues were resolved. I'm Joe Jackson.
In the WKYX WNGO newsroom, I'm Bill Hughes. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says gridlock could become a thing of the past as he plans to get bills moving through the upper chamber. McConnell pledging to find common ground with President Obama in an effort to pass legislation, but warns all his members to be prepared to roll up their sleeves.
The American people have changed the Senate. So I think we have an obligation to change the behavior of the Senate and to begin to function again. That doesn't guarantee that the president's going to agree with everything we do, but we're going to go back to work.
McConnell also pledged there would be no shutdowns of the government and no defaults on the nation's debt. McConnell defeated Democratic challenger Allison Lundergan Grimes 56.2% to 40.7%. In other election results, Republican U.S. Representative Ed Whitfield has won re-election to an 11th term in Kentucky's 1st congressional district. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois defeated Republican State Senator Jim Oberweis to win a 4th term. And Illinois has a new governor. Bruce Rauner defeated incumbent Governor Pat Quinn with nearly 51% of the vote. In local election results, Republican Danny Carroll defeated Democrat Jeff Parker in the Kentucky State Senate race. Democrat Gerald Watkins beat Republican Randy Bridges in the state House 3rd District. And Bob Leeper, an independent, is the new McCracken County Judge Executive, narrowly defeating Jeff Hines. In one of the closest races this year, Democrat Julie Griggs defeated Republican Becky Bowers by only 149 votes to become the new McCracken County Court Clerk. For a complete list of election results, check out westkentuckystar.com.